The truck's engine roared like a beast awakening in the dead of night, its headlights slicing through the fog-shrouded cul-de-sac as it backed up to my backyard fence. I watched from my kitchen window, heart pounding in my chest like a war drum, as Carino, that insufferable homeowners association enforcer with her perfectly coiffed helmet hair and clipboard of doom, directed the driver with frantic waves. "Right there. You idiot. Pour it all in," she hissed, her voice carrying on the crisp autumn wind, laced with that smug satisfaction she wore like a badge. Little did she know, the eyesore reservoir she was about to sabotage wasn't just my quirky rainwater collector. It was the hidden lifeline feeding the underground pipes to half the neighborhood, including her pristine McMansion. And as the first globs of wet concrete slopped into the water with a sickening plop plop plop, echoing like distant thunder, I felt a surge of fury mixed with a twisted glee. This wasn't just vandalism. It was war. And Karen had just fired the first shot without realizing she'd aimed at her own foot. Cut to morning light filtering through my blinds, the kind that promises a fresh start but delivers only headaches. I sipped my black coffee, the bitter steam curling up like ghosts of last night's rage, and stared at the security footage on my laptop. There she was, caught in 4K glory, Karen sneaking over the fence at 2 a.m., her flashlight beam jittering like her nerves should have been. The concrete mixer truck she'd hired, probably from some shady outfit downtown, dumped its load straight into the reservoir, turning the clear water into a gray sludge that gurgled and bubbled ominously. My hands trembled as I paused the video, a deep sigh escaping my lips, heavy with the weight of years under her thumb. Karen had been the Homeowners Association president for a decade, ruling our suburban enclave like a petty tyrant. Fines for unmowed lawns, citations for holiday lights left up too long. She'd even tried to ban my vegetable garden because it clashed with the aesthetic. But this was personal. The reservoir was my late grandpa's legacy, a clever setup from the 70s that harvested rainwater and supplemented the city's supply during droughts. It saved us all money, kept the lawns green, but Karen saw it as a violation because it didn't fit her cookie-cutter vision. I slammed the laptop shut, the click echoing in the empty kitchen, and paced the linoleum floor, each step a thud of building frustration. The air smelled of burnt toast from my failed breakfast attempt, a sharp reminder of how distracted I was. Outside, birds chirped mockingly, their songs clashing with the distant hum of sprinklers that would soon run dry thanks to her. My phone buzzed on the counter, a text from my neighbor, old Mr. Hargrove. "Water pressure's low already. You hear anything?" I typed back quickly, fingers flying, working on it. But inside, emotions swirled like a storm: anger at Karen's audacity, sorrow for the tainted water Grandpa had engineered with such pride, and a spark of determination that made my chest tighten. I couldn't just report her. The Homeowners Association board was her puppet show. No, this needed exposure, the kind that burned. Flash forward to the neighborhood meeting that evening, held in the community center that reeked of stale coffee and desperation. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry bees, casting harsh shadows on the folding chairs filled with weary faces. Karen stood at the podium, her pearls glinting under the glare, voice dripping with false concern. "Fellow residents, we've got a crisis on our hands. Water contamination likely from that outdated eyesore in Jake's yard." She pointed at me, her finger like a dagger, and the room murmured. I sat in the back, fists clenched in my lap, feeling the sweat bead on my forehead despite the AC's chilly blast. My heart raced, a staccato beat against my ribs, as I waited for my moment. But then, an unexpected twist walked through the door. Elena, the new resident from across the street, a fiery environmental lawyer with wild curls and eyes that sparked like embers. She'd moved in last month, quiet at first, but now she strode in, heels clicking sharply on the tile, carrying a stack of documents that rustled like whispering secrets. "Excuse me," Elena interjected, her voice cutting through Karen's monologue like a knife through butter. The room fell silent, save for a collective intake of breath. I've reviewed the county records. That reservoir isn't just Jake Sit's a shared aquifer tie-in, permitted since 1972. Sabotaging it affects us all. Gasps rippled through the crowd, chairs scraping as people shifted uncomfortably. Karen's face flushed crimson, her lips parting in a silent O of shock, but she recovered with a forced laugh that sounded like cracking glass. Nonsense. We need order here. But Elena wasn't done. She slapped down photos me security stills, anonymously emailed to her by me earlier that day. The projector whirred to life, beaming the footage onto the wall. Karen's midnight mischief in vivid detail. Whispers turned to outraged mutters. The air thick with the scent of rising tension, like ozone before a storm. I stood then, legs shaky but voice steady, the words tumbling out with raw emotion. Karen, you poured concrete into what you thought was my problem. But it's our water, yours included. My voice cracked on the last word, a sigh escaping as memories flooded in. Grandpa teaching me to fish in that very reservoir, the cool water lapping at our ankles, the earthy smell of wet soil mingling with his pipe tobacco. Now ruined. The room erupted shouts of resign and call the cops, sounds crashing like waves. Karen stammered, her composure shattering, tears welling in her eyes not from remorse but from the backlash she'd unleashed. I was protecting the neighborhood, she wailed, but it rang hollow, her hands trembling as she gripped the podium. Cut to the subplot unfolding in the shadows. As the meeting devolved into chaos, I slipped out, needing air, the cool night breeze whispering through the leaves like a soothing balm. That's when Mr. Hargrove cornered me by the vending machine, his arthritic hands clutching a faded photo album. Jake, son, your grandpa and I built that system together. Karen's husband, rest his soul, was in on it too, back when we were all friends. His voice quavered, eyes misty under bushy brows, and he flipped open the album. Yellowed pictures of barbecues, laughter frozen in time, the reservoir sparkling in the background. A pang hit me, nostalgia mixed with betrayal. Karen had forgotten her own history, twisted by power. She changed after he died. Hargrove sighed, the sound heavy with years of unspoken grief. Lost her way. It added layers to my anger, turning it bittersweet. She wasn't just a villain, but a broken woman lashing out. Emotions fluctuated wildly, pity warring with resentment as crickets chirped in the distance, a rhythmic underscore to my racing thoughts. Back inside, the climax built like a crescendo. Elena presented evidence. Lab tests from the water samples I'd sent her, confirming the concrete's toxins leaching into the pipes. This isn't just vandalism, it's endangerment, she declared, her words booming with authority. The crowd surged, phones out recording, the flash of cameras popping like fireworks. Karen backed away, her heels scraping the floor, face pale as milk. You don't understand, she cried, voice breaking with a sob that echoed pathetically. But we did. Her tyranny had backfired spectacularly. As police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder like approaching judgment, she collapsed into a chair, the thud of her body hitting the seat, final and defeated. In the aftermath, under the starry sky that smelled of impending rain, I stood by the now barricaded reservoir, the concrete hardening like Karen's heart had been. Cleanup crews would arrive tomorrow, but the damage lingered, a metaphor for how one person's spite can poison everything. Yet, as Elena approached, her smile warm amid the chill, she squeezed my shoulder. Justice isn't always swift, but it's inevitable when we stand together. Hargrove nodded from afar, album tucked under his arm. The neighborhood buzzed with change petitions for a new homeowners association board, community gardens planned in Grandpa's honor. Karen faced charges, her empire crumbling, a bitter end where her own block went without water for weeks, her perfect lawn wilting under the sun's merciless gaze. She learned the hard way. Actions ripple out, and sometimes they drown you first. And in that moment, as a light drizzle began, pattering softly on the leaves like applause, I felt a rush of inspiration. It's not about revenge. It's about resilience, about protecting what's ours not with walls, but with truth and unity. Grandpa's legacy flowed on, cleaner and stronger, reminding us all that even in suburbia's shadows, justice finds its way home.